Gentlemen, on today's episode of EV Electronics in the Kitchen, because once again we were too lazy to clean our actual workbench, the ZombieVerter. So what is it and why can't you live without it? Well, it's this. Have you ever found yourself on YouTube simply wanting to watch some funny cat videos and then inadvertently ended up on DamianMcGuire's channel? And now you suffer from EV conversion? In that case, the ZombieVerter may be for you. We can't just take electronic components out of a hybrid vehicle or an electric car and move them to another vehicle and have them work. It just doesn't work like that. These components are fish out of the water outside of their OEM vehicles. For that, we need some sort of a brain. And here we have just the thing. Spearheaded by DamianMcGuire with the help of other programmers and reverse engineers on Open Inverter, we have this circuit board that allows us to control not one but multiple vehicles, other peripherals such as chargers and contactor boxes, heaters, etc. Before we go on any further, disclaimer, I fully realize that I am the last guy on earth qualified to talk about the ZombieVerter, but will that stop me from talking about it? No. So you can get this thing at 3 different price points. If you are new to EV conversions, I recommend you take the path of least resistance and throw money at it and get the most you can afford. So you can get complete kit from Damian, but there's 3 price points. You can get pretty much the complete kit, then you can get a scaled down version, and then you can get it almost for free because Damian is a firm believer in open source. So you would need to sign up for his Patreon, support him. I think you can just support him for a month and then quit. And when you're a Patreon member, you will get access to essentially the blueprints for how to make this circuit board yourself. Now, I understand that might not be for everybody, but a lot of guys who have electrical engineering backgrounds would know how to take these files and send them off to some company that can make these boards for you, and then for something like $5 a month membership, you get access to the blueprints and you can make your own cards. Of course, then you're paying the money to the company to make the cards for you. But it's an option. So here I have the card, and this is how it comes to you. You have to source your own header, which I will get to another video, but what's on the card right now is this blue thing, and this is a Wi-Fi module. This is a Wi-Fi card. It's also a DHCP server, and believe it or not, it's essentially a web server. It broadcasts a web page, and you can control the ZombieVerter VCU vehicle control unit through Wi-Fi wirelessly, and we'll get to that. But we're just going to start off taking some baby steps, and you will get this in the mail. And what do? What can you do with it? Well, the first thing that you can do right away is power it up and communicate with it with the Wi-Fi card, regardless if you solder on a header, which is essentially a plug connector, if you will. Without doing any of that, you can already talk to it. You can see what version it's running, and you can actually upgrade its firmware right away, just the way it is here, by powering it on and talking to it with Wi-Fi. So this being an electronic component, it needs power. Because this is designed for automotive use, obviously, we can use a regular car battery, a 12-volt car battery, in the vehicle to power it on. So for testing, this could be used as well. You would obviously need to put a fuse on there. The voltage is low, but this is full of amps, okay? So you may risk frying it, but using a car battery is an option. Another way to do it if you're just testing is to use one of these. This is a bench power supply. You can get them on Amazon, obviously. And this one here, I believe, is 60 volts, 5 amps, I think. And they make another one that is 30 volts, 10 amps. It doesn't matter because these have volume knobs on them and you can adjust how much voltage you want. So you would turn this down to 12 volts, but then you can control the amps, put this down to like maybe 1 amp. And yeah, I would always use a fuse, but now we have the battery and we have the bench power supply. Let's look at another way we can do it. I actually powered this thing on simply with a 9-volt battery. This one just happens to have the DC leads on it, but I was able to connect to the last 2 pins on here and power it on just simply with a 9-volt battery. Is this recommended? Not really. Can it be done? Sure. If you just want to do a quick test to see if the lights will flash on it or something like that. Almost forgot. Chuck Norris powers this up simply by pointing it at the sun. I hope to make a series of these short videos on the ZombieVerter, where in each video we just focus on one thing, maybe 2. And the perspective is a noob like me sharing my experiences with other people new to the hobby, new to the game of EV conversions, okay? I'm no expert, I don't play one on TV. I'm just trying to share what I've learned or some of the struggles I've had as I try to build my conversions. So with that in mind, what I highly recommend is that when it comes to controlling this card, you dedicate a computer to it. A laptop is ideal because you can move it from your office to the garage. But dust up that old laptop. I'm not saying go out there and buy a new one. Maybe if you don't have a second computer, pick one up on Craigslist for cheap or something like that. All you'll need to do is just drive a browser with it, but dedicate it to it. It may not be so crucial in this case, but with other projects involving Arduino and so on, I learned that dedicating a machine and creating a complete sandbox environment is the way to go. Okay, so at this time, I have an old laptop here. This is really nice, okay, because there's some sort of feedback, okay? There's 2 LEDs, one is solid red, the other one's flashing. But heck, that's better than nothing. It is telling us something. It's got power, right? Okay. Obviously, don't set this down on a metal toolbox or a stainless steel kitchen counter. Always use granite or, wood. So this is powered on. I'm going to dedicate a laptop to this project. Do not use your work computer if you work from home. Don't use your kid's machine. Don't use your wife's laptop, so on. Dedicate one and then you'll be happy. There's 2 ways to get to this Wi-Fi interface now. We can simply join the network that this is broadcasting, advertising, or we can put this on our home network. And as I go through these videos, the pieces of the puzzle may start coming together. I'm an IT nerd, computers are my background, it's what I do in my day job. So I'll try to not go too much into the weeds of this, but I'll try to explain what is going on here. So I recommend, and what I prefer to do, is just join the Wi-Fi network that this blue card is advertising. And then this whole ecosystem is isolated from your home network. And you're not going to be able to get to the internet from this laptop, because it's only talking to this device, but that's okay. That's what we want. We just want simple, right? Very simple. Some of you might be going, no, 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 put this darn thing on your home network or your guest network, or create a new network for your car. Do whatever you want, okay? I'm just giving you options. We're going to just join this network. So now, when we look at the Wi-Fi connections or networks on your laptop that are advertised, this will be one of them, okay? I'm gonna try to figure out how to show my screen properly. New to making videos, so I'll try to do my best. One of the things that I've done to prep this laptop is I Googled a command. I use Windows. I'm not a Mac guy, I'm not a Unix guy, so this is just Microsoft Windows. And so I Googled a command that I'll share if you're interested, that hides Wi-Fi networks that are being advertised, so that when this comes up, it may be the only one or one of like 2 or 3, right? That way you know which one this is. And I will tell you what IP address this card has and what IP address my laptop gets, because it's all on a private network. But I'll also tell you how to see it, so that in case there's a difference, right? Because maybe I bought this card 2 years ago and you just bought yours and things have changed and so on. So this way you'll know. So the network that this is advertising for me is called FairyLink _ a bunch of numbers. Again, if you could open up your laptop, look at all the networks, power this on, see what new thing pops up, and most likely that's it. This thing also will give an IP address to your laptop. So your laptop needs to be set up for something called DHCP rather than hard-coded, right? Because your hard-coded address won't change, but if it's set up for DHCP, this will take over your laptop and give it a new IP address. You can go to the command prompt, type ipconfig, and see, what it's giving you. In my case, this is running on 192.168.4.1, okay? And it gave my laptop, I believe, .4. It doesn't matter what IP address it gives to your machine. If it gave you .3, .5, just run with it, okay? You just have to be on the same network as it to connect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect to it, open up the web interface, and finish up this video by doing a firmware upgrade on this. I would recommend that when you get this, always check what version is on here, and I'll show you how to do that. And then find out what the latest is, and just put the latest firmware on here before you start, because you're going to be configuring this, you're going to be changing parameters. Now, in theory and in practice, the parameters won't change when you do a firmware upgrade, but if something goes haywire and you lose all your settings while doing a firmware upgrade, well, then you've wasted all that time. Whereas if you upgrade this to the latest version, then make your changes on top of it, they're gonna be there. And I like to set this to connect automatically, so once it's tethered, once it's powered on, it just starts talking to your laptop automatically. So let's say you're interested, you wanna get this controller, you wanna get the Zombie. Where do you go, where do you get it? Well, EVBMW.com. So let's go there. Okay, so this is Damian McGuire's page. All right, we're going to go to the EVBMW Web Shop. And on the web shop, we're going to click on VCU boards, Vehicle Controller Unit boards. this away. And here we can see first item here is a ZombieVerter VCU built. Okay, we look at it and we can see that it has a header on it. It has a Wi-Fi. I believe over time Damien has changed from using these red little Wi-Fi cards to blue ones. Okay, the blue one has a USB port on it. I already demonstrated that to you. It is a bit of a nicer card, easier to program. So this is your first option. Okay. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty a little bit, you can save some money by getting the second option, where it's pretty much a kit. It has the circuit board, has the Wi-Fi card, but it doesn't include the header. You have to buy that yourself. Don't worry, he provides links where to get that on AliExpress. And then the third option is if you want to make your own card, and that's a little bit beyond the scope of the basics. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is power up our ZombieVerter and see what network name it advertises. And one light is on solid, the other one is flickering. That's what we want. At this time, this blue card is a network card. It's a tiny little network card. It works as a web server. It's broadcasting its Wi-Fi network right now. So on my laptop, if I simply click on my networks, Wi-Fi networks icon on the taskbar, I can see that amongst my home networks and a couple neighbor ones, I see this one called Fairy Link. That's the one for this card. I'm not sure if yours will be called the same thing, but it's whatever the new one pops on. So we're going to say connect. This doesn't take very long. It's probably having a little bit of an attitude because I'm making a video. But as you work with it, it's instantaneous. I set it to auto connect and dedicate this laptop to this card and to this network, and then everything is always hunky-dory. Okay, so now we are connected. It says no internet, but that's okay. This is not going through our router. The laptop is just talking to the blue card, which is talking to the green motherboard there. Okay, so now I'm just going to go to my command prompt, run it as administrator, but it doesn't matter. Type ipconfig, and here it tells us our new IP address. This part is optional. I'm just kind of going over it. It's 192.168.4.2 right here. And most likely this card is going to be 192.168.4.1. So now I'm just going to open Edge. You're welcome to use any browser you like. And then here we're going to type 192.168.4.1. I know it was already in there, but I'm just doing it for thoroughness. Hit enter, and it brings up the software menu that controls this ZombieVerter. This was written by Johannes Upner, and it is from the Open Inverter, and we are essentially using this software, a flavor of it, to control this card. This page may seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but don't be intimidated. I really like it. It is the Craigslist of software interfaces, if you will. I really love that about it. It's no thrills, it's all meat and potatoes. The way we get around this page, and we have this menu on the top, but all this menu does is jumps you further down in the page to that section. Okay, this is really not a multi-page system. It's just one page, one long page, like if you could imagine a legal piece of paper that's really long. Okay, so to demonstrate how it works, we're going to go to something called spot values, okay? We're going to click on it, and the first thing we see here is version, and it's 2.0A. This card shipped with version 2.0A on it. Now back to the menu. I at first felt like there may be a little bit of naming convention getting used to, because parameters and spot values especially, is not something I would use here in the States. So parameters are like settings, okay? So think of parameters as settings. You click on parameters and you configure your settings. We will go over all these settings in later videos. For now, when we go to parameters, you can see, for example, the first one says inverter. This is sort of like your powertrain, right? It's your inverter motor combo, if you will. So here I will just pick Prius Gen 3 because that's what I'm going to be using the Zombie to control. But the nice thing is here we can see all the inverters and or electric vehicles it can control. So a Nissan Leaf, this one here is a Lexus GS450H. Okay, we can go down further and we can see here that this is the Toyota Prius. Further down is a Mitsubishi Outlander, and further down is another Lexus. This one is a GS300H. I'm jumping ahead, but I'm just showing you that parameters are settings, so we will configure our settings. Then to get to the top of the page, we can simply scroll up, and to get back to parameters, we can scroll down, see where it says parameters, or if we go back to the top of the page, we just click parameters and it just jumps us there, okay? And I don't want to insult you guys. We all know how to use a mouse. We all know how to use a browser, surf the web, whatever. I'm just telling you that this is all just on one page. The menus will jump us to there. And spot values, this is, you don't really make changes here, if you will. This is where you see what the inverter or the ZombieVerter is reporting to us. So spot values are like maybe output, like report. So here we can see that we're on version 2.0A, as I mentioned. The operational mode is currently off, and so on. Anyway, we are in here looking at the interface now, and we saw what version we were on. And the next step, and that'll be it for the video, is we're just going to upgrade the firmware of this card. So hang in there. We are here because we want to see how and where we would get the upgrade software to upgrade the firmware on our card. So if we click on any of these, let's click on the first one. And if we read, we can see that it says software and resources available on GitHub. So Damien has a GitHub page or a section on GitHub. GitHub is like a portal for programmers who offer their software either for free or for sale to others. So we're going to go to this link here, and I'm going to be critical of this, okay, and I'll just speak my mind. So one thing I wish Damien did is that he called his GitHub section for the ZombieVerter or ZombieVCU. He calls it STM32-VCU, which super geeks, super nerds, programmers will say, well, duh, what else do you want him to call it? Well, ZombieVerter. So for us noobs and non-programmers, you know, that could be a little bit confusing. Anyway, we're going to go to that link. And if you're completely unfamiliar with GitHub, again, it could be a little bit overwhelming, intimidating at first, but we're basically at github.com/Damien McGuire, obviously, /STM32-VCU. Again, I wish that said /ZombieVerter, but it is what it is. And on here, at first, I'll be honest, I scrolled up and down this list like a complete fool looking for a bin file that we need to run our upgrade. Because, well, if we go back to our software and we look at the update section, it wants an STM32 underscore bin. So where you find the update is not like on the main section right here, which seems obvious, but on the side. Of course, it says releases, latest, and bam, there it is. But I was an idiot. I didn't see this at first. So this is where we would get the upgrade from. So let's click on it. And what we want is the STM32 underscore VCU dot bin file. Okay, it's a manual download. You download it, you save the file, and then you feed it into this Open Inverter software interface. Okay, it's a two-step process. So step one, we have to download the file. So we're going to click it. We're going to do a save as. Okay. Now we have the file downloaded. It's in our download directory. Okay, so now back to the Open Inverter software. We're going to the update section. We're going to say choose file. Select this file. Click on open. Okay, so with our file chosen here, we're going to click on upload. And update is done. Okay, well, did it work? I don't know. Let's go to spot values. And look at that, version 2.0. Wait a minute, isn't that what we started with? Well, there's a refresh button. Let's refresh the page. Look at that. We are now on version 205A. Guys, I appreciate you following along. I was trying to make this a short video, but I wanted to cover the basics of powering on the Zombie and also making the upgrading it to the latest firmware version. So I hope you find that useful, and I'm going to try to make a next video, and in the next one we'll go over some of the parameters, or as I like to call them, settings. Thanks for watching, guys.